Heja Framtiden is recording today from Kistamässan, the trade fair in Stockholm. We're talking about retail technology, future of food and food production and food tech. Now I'm standing here with Samuel Amant from Coastal. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good day.
Good day. We met at Änglamarkspriset, Coop's award that you won. Was that earlier this year or was it last year?
November 23, if I recall correctly.
Okay, November. Perfect. Tell us a bit about Coastal. What is it that you do?
Coastal is a franchise in the seaweed industry. So we help fishers to set up, operate and scale their own seaweed farms. And we do that because we believe in the potential of seaweed. We think it can be used as a sustainable regenerative form of biomass in many applications. But at the same time, we want to make it possible and lower the resource intensity. So we want to lower the production cost and make it more standardized production, which we believe will be needed for the implementation in the large-scale markets.
So you basically outsource the technology or the process?
So very practically, we set up or we identify a suitable location. We apply for the permit. We use our blueprint farms to choose the best farm design. We source equipment, and then we provide all that service to the fisher. And then actually he runs the farm independently. So he decides what he wants to grow, how much he wants to grow, how he wants to do that. Of course, we educate him, we advise him. Wherever he has a question, he can come to us. And then at the end of the year, we also guarantee a buyback. So actually, before the season starts, we discuss what volumes he wants to produce. We agree on a price, and then we can say, okay, once you've produced these volumes, we will take them off and guarantee that buyback for you.
Okay. So where do you sell the produce?
We sell it to whoever wants to buy it. We sell now a lot to food, but also we sell to feed, to biomaterials. So we're not limited to any specific pillar when it comes to the applications of seaweed. So specifically with Coastal, we stabilize the product, we guarantee certification and traceability, and then sell it to a product developer. So exclusively an upstream company is how you can think of Coastal.
But do you have your own production as well?
So we mainly work with, or we only work with fishers. So we don't have any. We have a test site that we co-run with a fisher who's a bit more flexible, but we exclusively work with our franchise approach.
And you're based in Norway, is that correct?
Gothenburg, and now all our farms are. We have 6 current farms in Bohuslän, but actually by the end of next year we will also have farms in Norway, Denmark, and Stockholm.
So is there a limit to how much you can grow, or is that just depending on the amount of interest you get from fishermen?
I would say the current bottleneck in the seaweed value chain is demand. So it's very. We don't feel an active market pool. And therefore, at the moment, we're also not growing to full capacity. Every year in June, actually, we ask our buyers how much they are aiming to source in the coming years, and then based on that demand, we start producing. And through these back-to-back contracts, we want to make sure that we don't have an overproduction, but still continue to grow. So, as I've mentioned earlier, like we grow the number of farms, but each farm has. We are not using to its full capacity. We believe that at the moment there is no market pool, but that over time there will be a significant increase in biomass usage in whatever application. And then from the moment that pool emerges, we actually have the network to scale all our farms. Now, or by the end of this year, it's 15, but give us a couple of years and it's 50, 100, if not 200. And then we can grow that network quite quickly to significant sizes, which will be needed if you talk about really industrial scale applications.
So what can we say about seaweed? In Swedish it's not sjögräs, it's tång.
Yes.
And what is the sustainability benefits of seaweed?
Well, seaweed is actually one of the few forms of production where the more you produce, the better it is for the climate. Often you can have a sustainable product where sustainability means that it has a lower negative impact. In seaweed, the unique case is almost that by growing seaweed in the ocean, you absorb nutrients, carbon, all to a limited extent. But of course, once you grow this size, these things become significant. You create a marine habitat. And these are very regenerative practices that we need more and more in the ocean. So that's one sustainable aspect. Another is that it is very resource efficient to grow. So you're not using any arable land, which is very rare these days and will only become rarer. No fresh water, no nutrients and so on. That's all taken up from the sea. Only what it needs is equipment, which does have, we should be honest there, it does has a carbon emission through the ropes, the anchors and so on. These needs to be supplied. But other than that, it just needs sunlight and the seawater. So that's very just resource efficient from a sustainable point of view.
So what does it take to start a seaweed farm for your customers' perspective? Is it a lot of technology, or is it just physical facilities that is needed?
For a farmer within coastal or for an individual on its own?
Within coastal.
Within coastal, so we work with a 1-year pilot phase where we basically we give the fisher the opportunity to know what seaweed farming entails before they commit to a larger extent. So we provide the permits and some suggestions on design. So we say, okay, well, in this environment with these current and wind directions, we suggest this design. We can supply the equipment. And the main part of the fishery is the operational aspect on the water. So they can decide, of course, how they want everything. And then they tell us when they want to have the seedling arrived. They seed themselves, they check themselves. We also provide a software tool that can help them monitor their growth and just the control and maintenance of their farm. And then they say when they want to harvest, and then we agree on a time and day to come and pick up the fresh seaweed. After that pilot phase, we go into more a commercial phase where we also kind of create some incentive and commitment from the fisher side. So there we suggest that actually they invest in the equipment themselves, where we believe that the equipment would be better maintained and the level of independence of the fisher is larger if they own their own equipment. So after this pilot phase, we actually go into a more commercial phase where they indicate this is the volume that we're talking, that I like to grow a certain level, if not just maximizing the permit, and then we take it from there.
And have you raised capital for this, or are you just growing organically so far?
I would say that our costs are covered with a variety of sources. We do have some business angels, some locals who see the potential in our approach. I would say also some prize money, for example, Englemarks. Then some revenue of our 2 past seasons, and then lastly we also are supported by the Jordbruksverket, the Swedish government, who does want to promote this type of sustainable small-scale production.
And seaweed is a popular ingredient in Asian food. Yes. Do you think we will reach a level of interest also from the Swedish or Nordic food production perspective in the future?
It's a very hard question. I definitely would say I believe that's possible. If you look, although there is a low amount of implementation now, if you look at other products like tofu of tempeh, how quickly these been adopted in the market, I do believe that in 5 years we can be in a completely different situation. There are different approaches. I think you have one approach where it's more just the product that is sold, and I think that is maybe a more limited market, since it requires a quite behavioral change. People don't really know how to cook with seaweed and so on. But if you compare that to other approaches, which is more like an ingredient approach, for example, you have knäckebröd, you implement some seaweed into it, or you have your burger and you replace some of the meat or the soy with seaweed to make it more healthy and sustainable. I do believe that has enormous potential, since there is no need of behavioral change from the customers. And then the last application is more extracts. It's already a very existing infrastructure, or industry I should say, where you extract certain hydrocolloids or interesting components of the seaweed and then implement them in other products.
For a consumer, what is the nutritional value of seaweed?
That's a very good question. I mean, here we always say potato, like there are 12,000 types of seaweed. Similar to vegetables, it's a very hard question, like okay, which vegetable are you talking about? So overall, we see that the interesting elements are in the minerals, vitamins, bioxidants. That is where seaweed outperforms other types of biomass. And I think that's also why in the future, if we talk about seaweed as an ingredient, that is where it will find its main purpose, where we see, okay, we, for example, have our pasta dough that is now purely flour. We will take 5% less flour and substitute that with 5% seaweed. And there you have a more nutritional seaweed or pasta dough when it comes to minerals, vitamins, and all these other interesting components.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Samuel and Amant, for joining Heja Framtiden.
Tack så jättemycket.
Tack så jättemycket. Check out coastal.se, coastal with a K, Koastal, for more information about the product and the process. Heja Framtiden is recording from Future Food Fair in Kista, Stockholm. My name is Christian von Essen. Thank you so much for listening.